Hello, Stephen White, Trek Boy for Steve Arts 89. Well, Picard, episode 4. Um, I didn't watch it till later because I was putting it off because I'd heard that it gets bad from the fourth episode. Now, I was actually enjoying it for a while. I was actually had a moment of thinking, oh, nothing's bothered me yet. It's kind of okay. It's kind of a bit slow, but nothing's pissed me off. And then we had the scene with Soji and Narek sliding down the Borg ship corridors in their socks and then kissing in the corner like little kids. And I just thought, cringe. Until then, the episode was going okay. Um, and then we had our second cringe moment where the very hot actor playing Elnor, Evan Evergan, no, what's his name? I forgot his name. He's Australian. Where is he? Evan Evagora. Um, starts talking in an Australian accent halfway through a scene. I'm like, did the director just say, "I'll go with the Australian accent, don't worry"? What the hell? He's a Romulan who grew up on a planet called Vashti in the Beta Sector. How the hell does he have an Australian accent? Did he learn English from an Australian refugee helper, like who's like helping the refugees or something? Like, they're all speaking English. I don't understand. Did he learn it from an Australian on Romulan before they immigrated? I don't understand. It makes no sense. I get, Australian accent diversity, but you can't have that on a Romulan who grew up on another planet who would never have met an Australian, probably. Yeah. Little things like that just undermine everything else in the show, which is okay. Okay, so the episode starts off and we see a planet 14 years ago. Picard is helping relocate Romulans. He's befriending little Elnor when he's a kid. He's been basically adopted by a bunch of warrior nuns, but he can't ever be one of them. They were planning to place him, just like a lot of things were planning to happen, but then the synths attack. Picard gives his ultimatum. They say F off. He does. And he never comes back because he's not part of Starfleet, so he's never able to go back to those people. So he just basically abandoned them from how they see it anyway. Now we're on the ship, and Picard, for some reason, is in a hologram of his chateau instead of just in his quarters, which is weird. Everyone comes in there to talk. The captain hates his fucking hospitality hologram and drops another F-bomb. We hear there's a Romulan rebirth movement, so there's a whole bunch of political crap happening there that's come out of them being left on their own and being abandoned by the Federation and resenting them. And they already hated the Federation, so I can't imagine how much drama there would be in the political side of all of that, of the surviving Romulan army and culture and all the politics. I don't know how far they're going to get into that, but we find out that the planet they're going to, because Picard says basically we have to go to Vashti because he needs the help of the sisters, but he also, I think, wants to see Elnor because obviously he abandoned him, and as he said, this may be my only chance to go back there. Now, we hear that there are warlords and thieves who are in charge of the area because the people who were keeping in charge of the area can no longer maintain it. Then we go to the Borg cube and we see Randa, and she's healing. There's a medical drone which looks very Star Wars, and that's when Soji and Narok have their wonderful little tryst or play in the corridor. For a minute, I thought they were going to rip off the scene from Enterprise when they go to the bottom of the ship and find the sweet spot where there's no gravity. But instead, they just go sliding down the corridor on their socks. And it was just so cringe. It wasn't cute or charming or anything. It was just cringe. and cut that scene out, and the rest of the episode would have been fairly decent except for the accent. Um, Now, and he called them Borg rituals, which of course I knew was crap, and but I actually for a moment thought they were going to actually go that way somehow. Um, now, Picard basically goes down to the planet. He feels bad for abandoning everyone, and basically he's blowing up on personal traffic, which basically means social media. But he goes to the nuns. They offer to help him in a way, in that they basically give him Elnor because he can't be one of them, and he's really got no place there. They never found a place for him. Picard asks him, "Will you help me?" And he plays the vulnerability fairly well of a child sort of confronting as an adult an adult who abandoned them. And he has his moment of rage of like, oh, now you need me, now I'm useful to you, you want me. I felt that anger, and I thought he did a fairly good job acting wise, except about halfway through that scene his accent came out. I didn't notice it at first. And then the rest of the episode he has the accent. He storms off. Picard thinks, oh, I'm screwed. He goes back into the town square, and for some unknown reason, because he's already stated that he thinks the place is just degenerate and squalor, and that's what they were left in when they were abandoned by the Federation. And he goes in and he takes a Romulan's only sign of a Romulan establishment and then walks in, which of course means four big ass Romulan guys decide to drag him out and confront him about the fact one of them had met Picard when he was a senator, and confront him about the fact that the Federation abandoned them, and he basically apologised on behalf of the Federation and said, I did my best, I tried. They go to attack him. They throw a sword to him, and he initially starts to defend himself, but then he throws the sword down and says, I won't fight. Then Elnor walks in and basically says, yeah, take me on, you're going to die. One of them takes him on, and he spins through the air and cuts his head off. And that's a little horrific for Star Trek, but they actually show it from behind, so you actually don't see the open wound, you just see the head slide off. So they managed to PG it down a little bit. Now, they beam up at the last minute before they get attacked, because you only have a 1 minute window apparently in this world's security shield and everything. So they beam up, and Picard actually dresses him down for killing the guy, like, because it was not necessary. It wasn't necessary in the script. It wasn't necessary in the show. It wasn't necessary in the situation. And I'm glad Picard did that, because I was sitting there thinking, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they killed that man just like that for that reason. He's basically going there to say, you people were abandoned like you were worthless, and then chops one of their heads off like they are worthless. But then he, so that saved that moment at least. And then we're on the ship, and they're about to leave, and then of course they get confronted by the ancient Romulan ship that someone found and was using. Basically, they're basically like a pirate. So he attacks them, and then a little ship comes and helps to defend them, and that ship gets destroyed. They beam the person off last minute. This is after they blew off the wing of the Romulan ship and rendered that helpless. And who should beam over but Seven of Nine? So she basically says, you owe me a ship, Picard, and faints. So now I understand the scene where she pops up at his vineyard, because she's not popping up at the vineyard randomly like they're old friends. She's actually, because he recognises her, of course, and she's going into his cabin, which is holodecked out as his vineyard. So that's how that scene's going to happen. Now, I haven't seen the preview for the next episode because they don't show them on Amazon, or they're not on mine. There's an overall series trailer, and then just the 4 episodes. So I don't know what's happening in the next episode. But it wasn't as bad overall as I thought. It was a little slow. If you could just, and I will edit out probably of my own copy, that freaking scene with the sliding on the socks. The accent I'm going to have to get used to, because obviously he's going to talk like that all through the series. The only explanation in the real world could be that he learnt English off an Australian person that was like visiting Romulus or something to like teach Romulans English, or some part of some sort of transfer, or some sort of that's the only way it could be possible, because I know plenty of Asian guys with Canadian and American accents because they learnt from English from Americans, so they have American accents even though they're Filipino or something. So it can happen, but I just don't understand why. It's the most basic thing for an actor from Australia or from another country to disguise their accent. It's the first thing you really learn how to do, really. So I don't believe the guy just couldn't do it, and if he couldn't do it, that's really sad. But if they said, just go with your Australian accent, we'll explain it somehow, just because it's interesting, I'm not sure if that's a really sound thing. So overall, the episode was okay. It wasn't this sudden descent into a dumpster fire I heard that the fourth episode was, but it does have some really bad moments, and I don't know what they're going for with these sort of cringe moments. Well, really just the one cringe moment. Once I get past the accent, I've explained it in my head. I've found a way to rationalize how this Romulan has an Australian accent. I can live with it, but just the juvenile sliding around the ship like kids, like no, it wasn't charming, it wasn't quaint, it was just cringe, and they need to have less moments like this. This episode was written by Michael Chabon alone, and he hasn't done the best job with Star Trek stories. He's done an okay job. I think he wrote the best of the short treks, but still, it was okay, but it was not great. I mean, if it didn't have that one moment, it would have just slid through as quite an average, non-offensive episode. Frakes directed it, so it did kind of work. It did sort of flow fairly well, but it's still not Star Trek. We got to see space, warp. My God, we saw warp, and it actually looks like what I imagine warp would look like. Not just little stars shooting by, but like it was like looking through a crystal of images of like stars. Like it had a very interesting element. It didn't have the JJ Star Wars hyperspace blue fierce sort of tunnel that you're traveling through. Instead, it was just like a blurring of space and stars going past you. It was kind of beautiful. So thank God they got that right. They've got the Romulans right. They've got warp right. They're getting a few things right, but they're getting a few things wrong. I just like an episode that doesn't do anything stupid or cringe or offensive. I've kind of and then there's still the overall concept of the Federation being Trump's America, basically, or Trump's government, basically. The idea that the Federation could fall into that state so easily is just unbelievable. Just overall as a concept, the series overall isn't feasible. So it's kind of hard to watch the individual episodes, because even if the individual episodes flow okay or work okay, which none of them totally have yet, you still have that overall problem. So, okay, so we've got another one down. We'll see what the next one's like. I'm not feeling optimistic. I don't think it's ever going to come past a certain level of quality and faults. But we'll see. Obviously, I can't judge the whole series till we've seen the whole thing. We don't know if things are leading somewhere or if they're just outright flaws. But we'll see. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Feel free to share, like, comment. Comments are fun. Let me know what you think. I just want them to do better. I just want good Star Trek again. I just want to be able to enjoy Star Trek and not be challenged and frustrated by it. Thanks. Bye.